Welcome everybody. Welcome everybody in the room. Welcome everybody online. This is the Granada Hills Center for Spiritual Living. We're located in the San Fernando Valley on Chatsworth Street in Granada Hills, right next to Leslie's Pools. You can't miss us. I just want you to know that tonight is a discussion group facilitated by Reverend Nancy Woods, our assistant minister here at Granada Hills, and me. I'm Maureen Hoyt. I am the Minister Emerita from this center, legally Minister Emerita. I've been saying that for a long time, but we just got the paperwork that says I'm it. So there you go. What we do at this center, we start every service with our call to service, which is called Lighting the Flames of Faith. And we perform this ceremony to promote the universal consciousness of life, which acknowledges that all peoples, all faiths, all sentient beings come from that one great universal presence, which we call spirit. Fundamental to this truth is the unifying nature of all religious thought and experience, which we honor here today. Our presider for the evening is Vinu, and as she lights the first candle, it is for the Tao, honoring the universal path of harmony and equilibrium, the natural way. The second candle we light for the shamanic traditions, honoring the beliefs and practices of all indigenous peoples, the way of primal spirituality. The third candle we light for Hinduism, honoring the path of knowledge, action, and devotion. We light the fourth candle for Judaism, honoring the ethical path of living by sacred law. The fifth candle we light for all forms of Buddhism, honoring the Four Noble Truths and the path of compassion. The sixth candle we light for all forms of Christianity, honoring the Christ consciousness as the path of love. We light the seventh candle for all forms of Islam, honoring the path of submission to the will of God as the highest calling. The eighth candle we light for the universalistic religion of Baha'i, honoring the path of unity and peace. The ninth candle we light for all forms of new thought, honoring the metaphysical path of mental healing through the practice of universal spiritual principles. We light the 10th candle for all those who are as yet unaware of the power and presence of spirit in their lives and for the space we hold for them at this center, and as Reverend Mike often said, in our hearts as well. And as Vinu lights the healing candle, please put silently into the light the names of anyone you wish to have experienced the healing flame of God's eternal love.
Trust in God, I surrender, I'm one with the Spirit all around me. I surrender, I trust in God.
Just remain here for a few moments longer, knowing we are rooted in the oneness, in the all-knowing all that is, in this divine consciousness that is one mind. Recognizing we are each unique and perfect reflections of the divine, one with everything, all-knowing everywhere. Knowing tonight's Wednesday night service unfolds in divine perfection. Knowing that this place is a center for open hearts, open minds, where we shift and lift our thinking. Gathering in community. Tonight's discussion is exactly what we need to hear. I'm so grateful for this center and for all the experiences we receive here on these Wednesday nights, knowing they are perfect reflections of all that is. Grateful for each and every person here in person and online, for our AV team, for our powerful teachers. And it is with this full and grateful heart I release my word to the law, knowing it is all done, knowing it is all love, and we affirm by saying, and so it is.
And so it is.
Just a few announcements before our revs begin. Kind reminder to all who are participating in the Lake Tahoe Opportunity Drawing. Please turn in your ticket stubs to the office as the drawing takes place on Sunday, February 15th at noon. This Saturday, February 7th at 2 p.m., a celebration of life will take place for our beloved Jeannie Starrett. In lieu of flowers, the family asked that donations be made to standuptocancer.org. And next Wednesday, February 11th at 7 p.m., Taze's service takes place with practitioner Catherine Hack, some of you know as Kitty, for a quiet evening of chanting, reflection, and meditation. Love offerings accepted at the door. Now I will hand it off to our revs.
Wow, that was quick. Good job. Thank you. I want to welcome everybody tonight. This is one of the most interesting, shortest essays in Living the Science of Mind on page 312. Ernest Holmes, he goes on in the next essay right after this one to talk further about this, so you have to wait now till the end of the month to get that one. The thing about this is it's an important message to get. As I was sharing with somebody, maybe Reverend Nancy earlier, one of my teachers said, when we were in practitioner training originally, we never did treatment work in Science of Mind 100 or 200. We did treatment work starting in practitioner training. Now we introduced spiritual mind treatment in the first year class because it's obvious that the students that are there don't have to go through what I went through when I took practitioner training. The first time I was catatonic for the first 6 months. Every time I had to get up in front of a group and do a spiritual mind treatment, it came from somewhere, obviously, because I managed to do the treatment quite nicely, actually. And the reason I know that is Dr. Dennis Merritt Jones, who was my teacher at the time, he recorded all of us and would hand a tape to us. That's how long ago it was. Would hand a cassette tape to us to take home to listen to ourselves and see what we needed to do to improve our treatment work. But he said God does not hear the words necessarily. It hears the feeling behind the words. So that's what we're doing tonight. Who's starting us off?
I think you want to read that first paragraph.
Okay, this is from Living Science of Mind, page 312. Treatment and feeling. That which is felt cannot be taught, while that which is taught may be felt. This is one of the most vital things in mental and spiritual science. A treatment has no power unless it has a meaning to the one who gives it, just as we know that a public speaker cannot convey a message which he himself does not understand.
If we wish to convey a message, we must feel it, just as a musician feels the atmosphere of harmony back of his technique. Yet technique is equally necessary in order that he may give definite form to his feeling.
The practitioner recognizes the whole condition as a thing of thought and in my own mind straightens out this thought about the client. In doing so, he reveals the eternal back of the negative appearance. The straightening out of thought is technique. It may be taught, analyzed, taken apart, and put together again. It consists of words, phrases, thoughts, ideas, all of which are understandable, teachable, and learnable.
The essence of the treatment, the feeling which the practitioner has, their interior sense of the divine allness, of that spirit which is closer to them than their own breath, this cannot be put into words. This cannot be taught. It can only be felt.
By using right words, statements, and phrases, and dwelling upon their subtle meaning, one may come to feel the meaning back of the words.
So what do you think about that? Don't everyone speak at the same time. You're all thinking. I can hear the wheels going. Moses.
Okay. Um,
Yeah.
so, in my own perception, I think sometimes feeling too much, like deeply, it will make you think deeply. And the other way around. When you think too much, it will make you feel nothing. Yeah, I don't know. I think this relates to, and I learned that in my philosophy class also.
Yes. You and Descartes.
There you go. So at the end, I guess both sides look for enlightenment.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, but this is really interesting that the feeling is, if you have to feel it in order to treat someone. It's not about thinking, it's more about feeling.
Yeah. Yeah. Thinking keeps it in the intellect, from the neck up, right? But when you're feeling it, you're making the 18-inch journey from the head to the heart. Yeah.
And that's what I was thinking, that actually you put the feeling in it, you put your heart in it. And that heart, I think the heart energy is very impactful on your experience, what you feel in your heart, usually. It's like a mind changed against its will is of the same thinking still. So if your heart's in it, it's usually part of your will. That's my thinking.
Excuse me, I have a question. Where's the mic?
Where's the mic?
Well, I know Moses has, discussed, Descartes has come up before, and in my philosophy class 2 years ago. Descartes is the one that said, I think, therefore I am.
Yes.
And you said a few weeks ago, the science of mind is, I am,
Therefore I think. Yes. Yes.
So, with a treatment, I'm just trying to kind of put it all together. With a treatment, that which is felt cannot be taught, while that which is taught may be felt. I'm still trying to wrap my mind around that. Can you discuss that a little bit? Explain it a little bit?
Sure.
Where is that? Which part? The very first line.
Very first line. So there's a difference between intellectualizing spirit and spiritualizing the intellect. What we do as religious scientists, we spiritualize the intellect. But you can be, there are practitioners, there are students who don't get very far from the neck up. They get the neck up, but they don't get from the neck down. And they very often are people who are the ones who want to intellectualize spirit. What Moses said is when we have feelings around something, there's an element of vulnerability. And really, it isn't about weakness. It is about being vulnerable, allowing somebody else to know the truth for us until we can know it for ourselves. So that has to be a felt experience. The practitioner, in our most vibrant moments, feel what it is that we are knowing on behalf of our clients. We don't, we don't get into the pain, but we often have a sense of the suffering of the client. And if you ever want to read the first 200 pages of the Tibetan Book of Living and Dying by Shogyan Rinpoche, the first 200 pages are the pivotal pages where they talk about that's the meaning behind being a good practitioner, that you can understand their suffering, but you can't feel their pain for them.
So thank you. And when the last line in that first paragraph, that made sense to me when it says, just as we know that a public speaker cannot convey a message which he himself does not understand.
Yeah.
That made sense to me then.
Yeah.
Although we do know some public speakers who
Oh,
don't know what they're talking about.
well, it's not so much not know, but that they believe in what they're saying. So, I get the enthusiasm behind what they're saying. I listen to the words, but I get the enthusiasm of a public speaker. And so that same thing happens to me when I get a treatment, that I feel the energy behind, I say energy, but the feeling behind what the practitioner is saying to me. And I get that way when I do a treatment for somebody or myself. So it's like unspoken, of course. That which is felt cannot be taught, while that which is taught cannot be felt.
Okay.
That which is taught cannot be felt.
No, it says what is
May
not
be
may
felt.
taught.
While that which is taught, may be felt. Thank you. That which is taught.
Do you think it's an evolution? You can be taught something. It's formulaic in nature, spiritual mind treatment, 5 steps, right?
Yeah.
And we all know what the 5 steps of treatment are. It's formulaic in nature, and sometimes it is about the intellect trying to grasp the formula. But there comes a point where the practitioner, I call it a hair-raising spiritual mind treatment, because the hair on my arm stands on end.
Yeah, so I grasp the words.
Yes.
My intellect grasps the words, but then I also begin to translate that into my feelings. It seems
Yes.
like, and then I get it on a deeper level.
Yes.
Because the feelings come in. Is that what we're saying?
When I read this, the first thing I thought is how I came into this teaching myself. I think the first 15 or 20 years, I kept taking these classes, trying to intellectual, because I was into education, in school most of my life. So I thought if I can get the intellectual understanding, that I would be able to help the world. So I kept getting the classes, trying to understand it. It was only when I began to feel like that I was a spiritual presence. I mean, I got feelings, glimpses of it, or moments of it, or demonstrations from it, that I began to get the heart part of it. And that is when it took on a whole different dimension for me. And the journey since is reaching right in there and trying to get that feeling each time that I express. And so for me, that feeling solidified the truth that I understood. It made it seem so real.
Yeah.
It wasn't just something that I knew, but it was something that I was totally aware of. I mean, it was no doubts in that. And so that's when that journey started. It was when I put the feeling to it. I really had it locked in intellectually, but could not figure out.
You know,
the
that's,
other part.
that's what it excites me about teaching, you know, like English or literature or what language, whatever, that as I got older and more spiritual throughout all these years, I've been teaching 34 years, I have a lot of feeling behind the material I'm teaching. And so I'm thinking that, yeah, I mean, it feels good at this stage in my life because I really feel what I'm saying is exciting or whatever, and I think that translates. I think I'm a better teacher today than I've ever been because of all my spiritual work and all of this stuff, that the intellect can give all this. There are teachers out there that have all the intellect they want in education-wise, and yet I don't find some of them very good teachers. They're not connecting.
Yeah,
And so the connection is what we're talking about,
yeah,
right?
yes. Kathy?
The idea too with treatment and having a demonstration, I read somewhere about having a change of heart. To expand my consciousness, I need to have a change of heart. Anything that I treat for, no matter what quadrant of life, I need to have a change of heart about my belief about it, not just in my head, oh, yes, I'm worthy of this or that. I need to have a change of heart, knowing that in my heart. Let's say that I'm worthy to receive something, or worthy of having a better life, whatever it is.
Beautiful. I think that you know, definitely. I loved your story, Nancy. But I kind of think that, I mean, even the way you were saying your experience, it kind of was a teaching moment for us on that we are learning about feelings. I think we can teach about feelings. That's what I think. And I think Heart Math Institute would agree with that. But anyway.
Okay,
I think there's a big piece about being receptive to the feeling to make it work. You can teach the words and memorize the words, and if someone has a closed heart, it's not going to get there.
that's exactly
Well,
right.
that doesn't mean that it can't be taught.
Yes, yes.
all I'm
But
Yes.
it's not that it says it can't be taught.
This
It
cannot
said,
be put into words, this cannot be taught. That's what it says.
where does it say that?
At the very,
Yes, that which is felt cannot be taught,
yeah.
the first line.
Well,
Oh,
okay,
And it's here, it's on the last, second to last paragraph.
okay.
you got that?
Moses, you got the microphone? Oh, Vinu, you
I
were
was
going to
just
say
gonna
something.
my 2 cents.
Yes,
The way I read that is, you can teach someone to be open to their own feelings, but feelings itself cannot be taught. I cannot
yes,
get into Nancy's heart
Yes,
and
That's
teach
exactly
you what
right.
it is you feel.
yes.
I think about the first foundations class I took. I was new to this teaching, and fire in the belly. Those were Ernest Holmes' words. And I visualized this, and the practitioners and the ministers that people come back to again and again, they have fire in the belly. They make people feel things, those goosebumps you're talking about, that energy. You can tap into your own feelingness if you are open and vulnerable and all of that, but I can never be you. I can never be Reverend Maureen or Reverend Nancy or Reverend Mike. I can only be Vinu, and I can only exude that which I am ready and willing and able to tap into for myself.
Yes.
and it's not only Vinu. I can be Vinu.
Right.
Don't use a qualifier for that. Robert Bly wrote a book called Fire in the Belly, and it was actually directed toward men because men have this feeling of weakness when they show their feelings. And the best work I ever did with a client, a male client, was to have him totally break down in front of me in all his vulnerability, and it washed away every resistance, every boundary, every thought he had about his masculinity. That I said to him, I said, Fletcher Harding said one time in a class, you know, a female is 70% female and 30% male. A male is 70% male and 30% female from a psychological perspective. He said, you know, here we have a husband and wife sometimes having a conversation, and they're not talking to each other because 70% male is trying to talk to 70% female. And if either one of them would step aside and allow the conversation to be heard and not to be judged, there's communication. There's effective communication. So it's just an interesting. I don't know why when we feel vulnerable, we feel afraid of exposing ourselves at some level. But sometimes that's what it takes in order for us to have a shift in consciousness. You know, ABC, awareness builds consciousness, right? Right. Who else?
No. I was going to ask how you can be more,
Wait, you got to use the microphone.
yeah, I was going to ask you, how can you be more receptive? and
How
open?
can we be more
But you
receptive?
just said it right now.
Yeah. You know, it's wanting to, as Ernest Holmes would say, have a better experience of life. You know, if we only do life halfway, what are we going to get? Like Harry Morgan Moses used to come here and speak on Wednesday nights years ago, and he talked about what's my percentage of consciousness. And I thought, well, wait a minute, what does he mean? He went on to tell a story about he and his wife went to the dealership. They both needed new cars. She came home with a brand new BMW, and he came home with a used Lexus. And he said he came to realize that his consciousness was only 50% receptive. Hers was 100% receptive to what she desired to experience. So it's at what level do we believe that when we ask for treatment for something from a practitioner, do we believe in the efficacy of that spiritual mind treatment? What's the percentage of our consciousness?
I actually, when you say, how can you be more receptive, what do you mean by that?
Yeah, like for example, I'm in service and they offer the treatment, but I have my doubts. How can I be more receptive to and open to a treatment?
How can you be more open to
Treatment.
the treatment?
Yeah.
Let me ask you another question this way. Because usually what you want to know is already in you. And once you can clarify it, as Michael said, clarify it in your heart, you will understand what you're asking for because you have the answer for yourself. So when you say be more receptive, what do you feel is lacking or that you're reaching for?
Good question.
Yeah, that's a good question. I have to think about it.
So what holds us back? What holds us back from demonstrating?
I think the training we get from the time we're 5 about this is the way to talk, this is the way to think, this is the way to be logical, to try and fit it into that kind of mold. I think when your heart is open, you really just receive it, and there's a telepathic experience. Reverend Nancy, when you were on pulpit at the 9 o'clock service on Sunday and talking about love and the losses you'd experienced recently, and you radiated love. You radiated love, and I felt that, and I experienced that. I took that home with me. It was so beautiful.
Yeah, yeah. So Dr. David Walker said he was head of practitioners for many, many years under the Religious Science International movement. And he was talking to the practitioners, but he was also talking to the ministers coming up through the ranks. And he said, you can give a Sunday talk steeped in principle, quoting chapter and verse from the Science of Mind textbook, and talk the requisite 20 minutes, but if they don't like you, they won't come back. Mm-hmm. And there's something that emanates out. What Reverend Nancy did on Sunday is she grabbed every one of us by the heart, and she was real. She was genuine. So I think that part of us, sometimes being genuine means that we have to give up our facade. We have to give up our ego. Yes, unhealthy ego, not ego, because I like to look nice. I like to have a nice hairdo and a little lipstick on, that's healthy ego. But that ego run riot, that unhealthy ego, that, and it, unfortunately, sometimes I have a son and a daughter, and my son feels as though vulnerability is weakness. My daughter has a similar feeling about that. But my son more readily now shows his feelings than my daughter does. So somewhere along the line, there has been a 180-degree turn. Nancy's right. How many years was I a practitioner before I got the idea that being vulnerable is not about weakness? It's not about weakness.
There's a huge amount of trust that in the divine, it's going to come together.
I'm sorry. What am I doing? Oh.
Well, that all woke us up. Not that any of us were sleeping, but yes, the divine. We're made in the image and likeness. God has identified itself by means of every person here tonight. And would we challenge our receptivity to spiritual mind treatment on our behalf? Well, when we seek out a practitioner to do spiritual mind treatment for us, do we say, well, I hope that works? Well, Ernest says in The Science of Mind, hope is the subtle illusion and the unconscious compromise. We already compromise our ability to be receptive to whatever it is we want when we say, I hope that works. And yet, some people come here on Sunday morning from desperation, and all they have is hope. All they have is hope. So, yes.
And we love them anyway.
Yes, we do, Nancy. That was never in question.
I don't know. I just feel that when we're around people who are feeling that, like what we're all talking about, that when we really feel sincerely what's going on in our hearts, we really, really mean. I feel that I guess maybe it's not taught, but it's transmitted somehow.
Yeah.
So I guess I did, anyway, that's
Yes.
all. That's all.
Yes.
And I
Vinu,
think that's wonderful.
why is your mic doing
I was
that?
just thinking,
that might have been.
Don't lean on your microphone.
I just was touching that, and that's what made it a little bit.
anyway, I was thinking about this feelingness, like if Reverend Nancy typed up her talk and handed it to 3 different practitioners, we wouldn't get that same experience,
No.
right? Because each person brings to the words their own beingness. And it just reminded me of the last line in that first paragraph where it says, just as we know that a public speaker cannot convey a message which he himself does not understand. That not understanding goes deeper than just intellectual understanding, because it's understanding where those words came from. It's not just, oh, I can read the words and I understand it, but the depth of understanding comes from the inner being.
Yes. Yes. That's exactly what we're looking for when we do spiritual and mind treatment for somebody, is the depth of understanding. But it's also the practitioner takes no responsibility for the outcome. It's the receptivity of the client to the outcome that they wish to experience that carries the weight of the demonstration. It's always my receptivity if I call somebody for spiritual mind treatment. I know I would like to say that I don't always wait till I'm desperate, but there is that aspect to, well, nothing else has worked so far. I might as well try spiritual mind treatment. So do the treatment first and see how that changes the process of demonstrating too. Yes.
There's a sentence in that paragraph next to the last one. It's on. I guess it is.
Yes, it is.
It said the essence of the treatment, the feeling which the practitioner has, his interior sense of the divine allness,
What you were saying, yes.
of the spirit which is closer to them than their own breath. That's basically what we are saying, is that when we say the heart, it is the essence of who and what we are, that we are on this journey to gain that awareness, to gain that understanding. It comes in moments. I mean, sometimes if you stand in a place like I was Sunday, and everybody was looking at you with love, I mean, you can't help from feeling it. So it felt like the love was coming this way, so it was easy for the love to go back this way when you were feeling it. It was very loud. I mean, so I think that what we are, this whole journey about learning what we're saying about the heart is that we're connecting with that inner teacher, the essence of life that is really guiding us, and it's with us all the time. We have moments, and then we have longer moments, and then we have other incidents, and we have that, what they call it, the gut feeling. We start with that gut feeling when we're younger, and our instinct, and we call it all this stuff, but it's that inner teacher that this whole process that we are on this journey to learn about.
Yeah.
Now, if we can get there. I mean, we can get there.
Yeah, this is great. And the third and fourth paragraphs summarize just what we're saying, that the practitioner recognizes the whole condition as a thing of thought, and then in his own mind straightens it out about his patient, and so doing, he reveals the eternal harmony back of the negative appearance. And this straightening out of thought is technique. It may be taught, which is understandable. The essence of the treatment, the feeling of this interior divine allness, this cannot be put into words and cannot be taught. It can only be felt. So the words of the practitioner can be taught. The essence of it can be transmitted, but to reveal the eternal harmony of both practitioner and the person being treated. But the feelings cannot be taught, just the words can. I'm saying this for myself again to kind of summarize.
I know. I get that.
And get the idea of it.
Sometimes we have to talk so we can hear what we're saying. Because seriously, There's
Hear what you
there are
think
so
is.
many times when I'm with a client, and it's somebody who's a seasoned religious scientist, and at the end of it, I'll say, "Why don't you do the treatment so that I have a sense of what it is that you're feeling?" And first they get all like wonky because now they have to perform. Well, it really ends up not being a performance. It ends up being, some of the best treatments I've heard are the client doing the treatment for themselves at the end of a session.
And that's what really is so powerful to think of the feeling behind it all. That gives me a newer sense of renewal about having treatments.
Yes.
You know,
Reverend Helen Street, who was the minister at first in Hawaii and then in Glendale, and she had quite a wonderful experience while she was in Hawaii, working with the Kahuna and being initiated into the Huna as a religious science minister. I only got to the first 8. There's 24 different degrees. I got the first 8 when I was there years ago, and it was life-changing for me. But Helen Street used to, when she would talk on Wednesday night, she was a lot freer on Wednesday night than she would be on a Sunday morning, because it was a much more intimate group. And she said, sometimes, I just have to do my best goddamn treatment. God damn it, God, I want this and I want it right now, stomping the foot, And we all kind of just went, oh my God, she swore in front of the whole congregation, but it was really, God damn it, I want it right now, And that's the childlike behavior that shows up sometimes. One of my students in the prosperity class asked me to do treatment for him for a new car. And so I did. And he got a 1961 Ford Fairlane. And he said, wait, I said I wanted a new car. And I said, well, it's new to you. You weren't specific enough about what you wanted. So there's that aspect of treatment too. When I was in the hospital in June, my son stood by my bed and he said, Mom, he said, as a practitioner and a minister, wouldn't you think you would have decided that to go to Hawaii instead of being in a hospital bed for a rest? So, we all have our little idiosyncrasies around this. My children are funny. They're the best religious scientists you'll ever want to meet because they catch me all the time.
So it's so funny that you're talking about cars, because today I was doing my homework for the foundations, and they say you don't treat for a car. You treat for think of the feeling that you want to have. Why do you want a car? Is it for safety? Is it for, what is
Freedom.
Or whatever
Yeah.
it might be.
Yeah.
There might be different reasons for everybody. And you treat for that, you don't treat for the car.
Yeah.
That's what it was. First cause is the feeling again. The first cause would be the feeling, and then the second cause would be the car. But you treat
Anything
for the
at
first
the level
cause.
of effect is secondary cause.
Right. And
You
I
just
thought
have to remember that,
I really,
okay?
really enjoyed, the way that I really loved that module. That was just wonderful to read.
Yes.
So thank you.
One of the things I wanted to say is that we really would like to get to the place where I think that all of us, that we feel like we express in life from that heartfelt place and energy. But one of the reasons why I appreciate having Reverend Raymond Charles Barker as our teacher, he says, if you can't get all into it the way the teachers and the other people did, he said, just keep affirming. He said, if you say it enough, your mind is going to begin to believe it. And once your mind begins to believe it, nothing can stop it from manifesting.
Yeah.
So sometimes it is, and I really believe that. If you keep saying it, after a while, a lot of the things that I have not wanted, it keep running through my head, and after a while it shows up, and it really, that has proven that is true. Because sometimes I get this, I call it a recording. Monkey mind just keeps reminding me of something. After a while, I have to remind myself not to do that, because if it keeps repeating long enough, I seen it manifesting.
Yeah,
So as long as
Works
you
both ways.
it
It
does.
works all ways.
Yes. It works without working. Do you remember Reverend Mike's talk recently about
Yes.
that? You know, it works by not working. You know, there's a part in the Science of Mind textbook you were talking about doubt, and Ernest calls fear, uncertainty, and doubt. And I decided it's an acronym. What's going on with you? Are you fudding on yourself? Fear, uncertainty, and doubt. Fear, you know, I just think about stuff like that. You know, uncertainty, doubt. I doubt my own ability to demonstrate when I surrender it completely. I'm so good at surrendering now. You know, I used to think it was like white flag stuff, like giving up. No, it is giving up to a greater idea from that perspective. You know, I use my hand as an example. The palm of my hand is God. I want treatment for this thing that I want specifically, and it has to show up for me, but there are 4 other really good ideas that God has for me. And so if I'm open and receptive to God's living spirit of truth, like Stretton Smith said in the 4T Prosperity Program, Nancy said about affirming this thing, we had to say, I am prosperous, I am prosperous, I am prosperous 400 times a day, 200 in the morning and 200 at night. So for approximately 2 minutes in the morning and 2 minutes at night, you can't think a negative thought. I am prosperous. And then it came down to somebody saying, but I don't believe that. And then say, well, I am willing to be prosperous. You know, if we're willing to have a demonstration that works for us, that responsibility of receptivity is on you, on you, on you. You're the ones that, I'm just simply saying the words, heartfelt words. But the receptivity has to come from the one receiving the treatment. Yes.
I was just thinking about what Reverend Nancy was saying. It reminded me of David Walker used to say, he'd say, so I am thinking, what am I thinking? Do I want to have that be the result of my thinking? And sometimes I remind myself, because sometimes my mind will go on criticizing something, and it's like, do I want to have the consequences of that thinking? And you all know what algorithms are, and you probably all seen that, like, because I've done that. I'll look on my Facebook, I'll look online for something, or even talk about something and my phone, then I'll get some kind of face ad, and it's like, that's almost like out picturing of what we've been talking about, how it's like there's algorithms in the universe, and what I focus on, because I've seen on my Facebook page, I get all kinds of stuff to do with cats, because either I look up stuff or I talk about them, but I've even seen
FAI.
You ever look at your phone, or after you've talked about something and you'll see something, that bothers me a little bit, but it's like, oh, I'm going to be careful what I say.
I sometimes have the TV on just for background noise, and I'm doing editing and proofreading right now. I have a manuscript I'm working on, and yesterday, I kid you not, I'm editing and proofreading and reading along, and the commentator on TV is saying the same words that I'm editing at that same time. Now, I'm not saying them out loud as I'm editing and proofreading them, so this is like, and I just sat there and I went, do. You know, this was a little disconcerting, because I do understand algorithms. I do understand that what I check on Facebook shows up over and over and over again. So, I mean, we're repeating. But I don't want us to miss this part where it talks about what where, oh gosh, where was it?
Which one?
Oh gosh. Nancy, say something.
Oh. Uh-huh. Go
Yes?
ahead.
I want to make sure I say something while I'm here.
Oh, I got
Uh-huh. Go ahead.
I don't like to feel, I like to think. And there's a comic who talks about his body has nothing to do with anything. It's just a vehicle to move his head from room to room and place to place. However, this idea of not having words for feeling has happened to me a lot. There just have been moments where I am out of my head, not crazy. I stop thinking and having judgments about where I am and what is happening, and I will feel totally a part of where I am. And I often do this around people that are strangers. I was at the county fair, and I almost ran into this guy, and we looked at each other, and it's like, I see you there. Isn't it great that we can be here? And there was just this energy, and it really is a feeling that I have from my gut. There's no words to describe it. I don't like the word heart because my thinking brain says that is such a sappy Valentine word. I can do gut or belly. It's all, it's all this area. And those moments that I've had, it's been more than a handful, are so precious to me. And when you were talking about, I want to have the best life that I can have, that's how I want to feel all the time. That this is fine to be here, and I'm supposed to be here. It's okay.
Mm-hmm.
You are okay. Bonnie's okay. But this is a really good topic for me, thinking and feeling. Yeah, I do like to think that my brain loves to run.
So the part in here, to sort of piggyback on that part, is every condition we experience in our life has its origin in thought. What is it that we're thinking on a daily basis? Is it about what we don't want? Because we're going to get more of that, what we don't want. So if we remember to focus on a daily basis on what we do want, what do we want to experience in life? What do we want our loved ones to experience? Now, they may have a different idea than we do of what they want to be, do, or have, but for ourselves. And so much of what happens when we formulate a relationship, client practitioner relationship, the core belief system of the client is largely about what they don't want. So now flip that 180 degrees and make a list of the things that we do want to experience, and focus our attention on noticing something like what you just said when you're at the county fair and you connect with somebody. Guess what? Your energy's missed. John O'Donohue talks about that so much in Anam Cara. This person you may not even know, you may have no idea who it is, but like he says in the book, you're two clays separated at birth. And then all of a sudden you meet at the Pomona Fair and you come back together and realize there's a connection there. You may not act on it, but that's that feeling. That's the feeling that the practitioner wants.
That's rather similar to the Buddhist notion that we have all known one another before, and
Yes.
we've been someone else's mother, someone else's kid.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. I like that. So, what else? We have maybe 5 minutes left here. There has to be some profundity that wants to show up.
I can say So since we have a really young person here, it's, I think it's too much information for him. But anyways, coming back to manifesting something. Before coming here, we have this conversation about female and male energy, masculine and female energy. And well, I was trying to manifest something, trying to teach you something, and then you mentioned that. So it's kind of like the divine, or life manifest, and maybe it's like a synchronicity or
Sure.
something.
Yeah, no, that's beautiful.
And
Yeah.
it's kind of like a message, maybe. Or,
Synchronicity is good.
yeah. But yeah, just like because you guys cover a lot today, and kind of like the process of creation, or when you want something, and maybe sometimes you feel that you don't deserve it, or you don't know why. But like when you learn to manifest it, I think it's kind of like you practice, and you learn how to do it, I guess.
So I know everybody already knows this, but the word manifesting or manifestation is really challenging for me because it doesn't feel like there's any agency to it. It's like the secret. The guy talked about an elephant, and an elephant showed up in the middle of the room of his house. Well, that's not how it works. It's about demonstrating to the level of our own consciousness of receptivity. I just have to say that over and over again. Because manifesting would say like it's going to come out of thin air, but it doesn't come out of thin air. It comes with, I am cause to my own effect. What I think is what I experience in life. And that goes for the bad thoughts. I joke about committing thought crimes against people. They don't even know it. And it's doing its job on me because it becomes, a point of contention in my own heart. It has nothing to do with the other person. They never hear what I'm saying. There's no ticker tape that goes across my forehead that says that I'm thinking these things about somebody. So the thing about, think about it as a demonstration. That you are actively participating in your own demonstration. Whereas manifestation, it looks like somebody comes up and hands you a bag of money. And that's not going to happen. But we do treatment and we move our feet in the direction of the goal that we have either set for ourselves, or the dream, or whatever it is that we desire to experience. There is agency in a demonstration because not only are you doing the work thought-wise, prayer-wise, you're seeing yourself as valuable and capable, and being given generosity beyond your wildest imagination. So I think we kind of forget that aspect, that treatment is not just because I'm doing something for you. It's because you are doing something to move yourself in the direction of where it is that you want to go. Just really quickly, a quick story. You're both in real estate. One of my mastermind friends said what she wanted to demonstrate that year is that she wanted to do she wanted to contribute $12,000 to the Granada Hills Church of Religious Science. That was her demonstration. It wasn't that she wanted to make $120,000 in real estate that year. She wanted to demonstrate $12,000, $1,000 a month to the church. A lofty ideal, right? So at the end of the year, she came into the church, and not only did she demonstrate $120,000 in income, she demonstrated I have to remember what it was now. I ended up getting a personal tithe check from her for $3,437 because she went 34,000, whatever, however you figure out 10%, right? It was a 10% tithe. She handed it to me with my name on it. It took me 3 weeks to put that check in my bank, because my glass ceiling of receptivity had to be elevated to such a degree. I'd never received a check like that before in my life. However, my son called me. He was going to Cal Lutheran, and he was weepy. And I said, "What's going on?" And he said, "I made a mistake in my tuition." He said, "I'm short $2,500. Could you co-sign on a loan for me for $2,500? And I said, "I can do better than that. I can give you the $2,500. Up until that moment, I didn't put the check in the account. I put it in so fast it would make your head spin because I could write him a check. He started to cry. I mean, he was like 20 years old and he's crying on the telephone, because he didn't know what he was going to do. So, I mean, there's some things that was so heartfelt to me. Not only did the church get a tithe for $343 or $345, but I got to pay his tuition for him without him having to get a loan for it. So we never know how things are going to work out. She made a demonstration because she wanted to give $12,000 to the church that year. She was a very successful real estate agent. And it wasn't about getting the money. It was about giving to the church. So I use her as an example time and time again in prosperity classes that I've taught over the years. And people really get that. I could tell another story, but I won't tell. I was going to tell about Mark and Linda.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but I'm not going to do that. I'll save that as a lost leader for the next discussion group. How's that?
Yeah,
Yes.
and it's already 8 o'clock.
It is.
Thank
So-
you. Thank you. This is a wonderful topic, and I really enjoy it, and I really appreciate each and every one of you, your consciousness, and it just stirred up stuff into me. It makes me think. I really want to think about what I want to have.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's my new thought.
So
now.
there's a little basket in
So-
the back. Don't forget to put something in there if you feel so inclined. That would be nice. It keeps the lights on and we can pay Renzen. That's a good thing.
And I'm going to say a closing treatment and thank you all for coming. And I do appreciate that there is that one source, that one divine presence that I feel in my heart that is always coming into expression as each and every person in my environment. As I embrace this idea, the love and the joy and the willingness to know that this is the divine presence saying yes to life all around me. And knowing that this experience has opened the door for many of us in ways in which the abundance of being flows into manifestation or in expression or as a demonstration, whichever way we open our hearts to experience it. Knowing this is the truth, knowing that we are willing to know and understand the truth of our being, that we are the avenue through which the creative expression of life says yes, yes, yes. And with this in mind, we go forth to demonstrate it gloriously and lovingly and joyfully as we say together. And
So it
is.
is. And